What's the difference between enduro bearings and enduro racing? Enduro bearings are guaranteed to last forever. Way! I'm Guy Kesterman, the Tester Man, and this is a chat, catch-up, review, whatever you want to call it, about enduro bearings, primarily their MaxHit and XD15 ceramic bottom brackets, but also a bit on the headsets, a bit on their tools, a bit on all their other excellent bearing-related paraphernalia and the bearings themselves. So, before I introduce you to the family of products I've been using, two things to say. First, click that subscribe button in the bottom left-hand corner so that YouTube can keep you posted on what's coming up next. I probably should do it more, to be honest. I very rarely put emails out there, so don't worry that you're going to receive a load of spam. It's just a way of bumping up the subscriber count, and so YouTube shares my channel with more people, and then it grows, and that's a great thing for everybody. And secondly, if you've been paying attention to my hashtags and just looking at the merch I've been wearing occasionally, the boxes on the back of the workbench, that kind of thing, you will know that I have been supported by Enduro bearings for about 18 months now. I was really stoked. Rick, one of the top brass over in America, got in touch and went, we'd really like to support you, really like what you're doing. We really respect your experience and we like what you do in the channel, which, thanks, Rick. That genuinely meant a lot. However, because this is a product that really does live or die by its long-term reputation, I wasn't just going to jump in and go, oh, I've got sponsored by MaxHit Enduro bearings. Bit of side boob. I think they're amazing. They last forever. Bye, bye, bye. Because that isn't me. And so apart from the fish tank video, kind of talking about the bearings, which I did last summer at Ardrock, summer before actually, at Ardrock, I haven't produced any content. So big apologies for Enduro bearings for not producing any content. Sorry, I had to go and answer the door. So, big apologies to Enduro bearings for not producing any content of my own yet. But on the flip side, I haven't sent them an invoice either. So technically, this isn't sponsored content. Although, as always, I try and be completely above board with these things. Enduro bearings sent me the bearings for free. And they will be, once I've invoiced them, they'll be putting a small amount of money behind the channel to keep it going, keep the lights on in here, and keep me chatting to you on the GoPro. So, big thanks to them, and thanks to all my other channel sponsors as well, and my Patreon subscribers, whose names, particularly the investors, who pay the highest tier amount, will be scrolling up on screen as I say this. So, thanks to all of those folks. Hope that's cleared the decks, so we can now concentrate on talking about MaxHit, XD15, and all the other wonderful world of enduro bearing stuff that I've been living in for the past 18 months. Let's crack on. So first off, we're going to talk about the MaxHit bearings, which I'm using in the headset and the bottom bracket on my stiff squat. I should probably film it from that side where you can see. And the reason I'm using them in the hardtail and why they're called MaxHit is because these bearings, don't know how this is going to look, but these bearings, here we are. Let's just look at them on the table. Then you don't have to stare into my face. This is a set of the headset bearings. And basically, the big win with MaxHit is, rather than the bearing being pressed into a separate bearing cup, the cup itself is the outer part of the bearing, which means they can maximize the actual bearing size in there. So these use a 4.76 millimeter stainless steel bearing in a stainless steel shell, which is far bigger than the industry standard size. I mean, they normally in industry, depending on your bearing, they're normally running 2 mil to 3.175 mil in your bearings, which means it's almost like it's the difference between like 29er wheels compared to smaller wheels. If you do get any grit or filth in there, then they're just much better. They're much better at rolling over it, and therefore it doesn't cause drag, it doesn't cause galling, it doesn't cause spalling, and all the other sort of pitting and tearing things that are what prematurely kill bearings. Plus, double the load capacity as well. So they're a much better bearing in terms of taking impact, which is why they're really, really good on something like a hardtail or just a heavy hit enduro bike where they're going to take that maximum hammer, and typical smaller bearings with more space around them just don't cope as well. And while I'm lucky enough to be using the bearings on top quality bikes, the larger bearings also mean that they're more tolerant of slight misalignment in frames, and you don't need to preload them as much either, all of which contributes to much longer bearing life, particularly in frames that aren't quite straight, or that a shop hasn't fully faced and lined up for you. So it's just generally a super robust bearing, both in terms of impact, in terms of rolling longevity, both the bearings, the racings, and therefore, the threaded cups or the press fit cups, because they do a huge range of different types. They do press fit, they do sleeved bearings. Basically, any type of bottom bracket that you need, you will find an enduro bearing kit for it. So, and while each different fitment will have its pros and cons, you can guarantee you're getting the largest bearing size, you're getting that fully corrosion-proof stainless steel bearing and stainless steel shell. So, there's no corrosion going on there. Plus, this super high pressure, premium quality marine grease in there. Plus, you're getting super close tolerance, double lip labyrinth seals as well, which is why they genuinely offer a limited lifetime warranty. So I'm sure you can read, but Enduro bearings warrants its MaxHit bottom bracket bearings for life. The warranty applies to only to the original owner. Component warranty is not meant to suggest that the component can be broken or will last forever. However, any MaxHit bottom bracket, if found to be defective in materials or workmanship, or if it becomes corroded or worn out from normal use, it will be repaired or replaced at the discretion of Enduro bearings. So basically, as long as you don't smash it, you don't break the seals off or, damage it in some other way, then, Enduro bearings have got your bike for the lifetime of that product. And that also applies to the XD15. And having said that about, not running it with, damaging seals and stuff like that, I know for a fact that James Huang, who used to be on Bike Radar with me, and is now operating his own N+1 Substack. So if you want to go and hear what James is doing, he's doing his own one-man band thing over there. Very noble of him. But anyway, back to the original story. James, I know, ran a set of Enduro bearings for, I think it was something crazy, like it was 18 months or more without even any seals on them. I mean, granted, this was in Colorado, but he ran through winter as well. But they lasted absolutely fine. And while I haven't done a huge amount of mileage, let's be honest, not done a huge amount of mileage on my Squatch, Amy Henshaw, national UK mountain bike marathon champ, she races World Cup marathon as well, World Championship marathon. She has MaxHit in her Santa Cruz enduro bike, and that's done several hundred kilometers. We agreed that kilometers wasn't a very good gauge. Several hundred hours on that, zero issues whatsoever, and that girl grinds out the miles, and she's a proper sender as well. So that's really, really impressive. And then looking at these bikes here, we can start talking about XD15, which is the ceramic setup. And I've got the bottom bracket in my Stigmata and in the Cervelo as well. And I've actually got XD15 jockey wheels in the back of the Fossil Fuel Trek and in the back of the Twisted Trek custom build. And that rear mech actually comes off the Pace. So they have done a huge amount of mileage. You can see, I mean, this mech has not had an easy life. So actually I had the bottom of the carbon cage broken off there. But these bearings still absolutely smooth. And there's a reason for that, which I'll go into in a minute. But also, if you expect me to take the chain off and just spin these bearings backwards, that's a Hope bottom bracket, because obviously I'm testing the Hope chain set there. So there's no point doing that. But even so, all those videos you often see on Instagram where people flip a chain off and go, look how well my ceramic bottom bracket spins. To be honest, that's not much of a guide, because that's an unloaded bearing and it's always going to spin. Actually, no, to be honest, it might not always spin that well. If it's a good bearing for real life, it might not spin that well when it's unloaded in the workshop, because what you're missing there is it's obviously got a really lightweight grease in it. And it's obviously got not much seal contact either. So, I mean, the wattages we're talking here anyway, Enduro have done a whole load of papers. They really, actually, normally don't geek out on that stuff, but I did a proper deep dive on the links they sent me. And it's really interesting. At tops,
It's like 2 or 3 watts difference between top quality and lower quality bottom brackets when they're brand new. I mean, the chain accounts for about double that much drag. But what's interestingly is that further down the line, that drag really changes dramatically. I'll put the link in the bottom, but they've done some really, really interesting research. But I'm not going to go into it now. I'll let you read it, because it's an Enduro bearings research. I mean, it's peer reviewed, and you know, there's some interesting takes on it. The fact that one of the cheapest bottom brackets they tested, which was SRAM Dub, that actually lasted a lot longer than a lot of the top end premium bottom brackets, which again, I'm not going to say Enduro definitely lasts longer than from my experience, because I haven't tried them. I have not tried them. I've not even tried a Chris King in a long old time. But I can say definitely, I'd say that Stig, it did the March Castle's Way with me on it. It's done the World Gravel Champs with Ryan on it. It's done several qualifying events and Gralloch. I did Dirty Reaver on it. What else? It did... Struggle as well, Struggle. So even in the past year, that bike has done over 1,000 kilometers just in events, and it's probably done at least that again just in day-to-day test riding. So there's a couple of thousand kilometers in that BB, and it's running absolutely sweet as. Cervelo, less mileage, it's a mountain bike, that's not surprising. But even so, it's done an Everest round Stainburn, it's done Trouseri as a bike packing trip, and as you can see, it does not get treated kindly in terms of always being clean. It did the infamous Yorkshire Mountain Bike Marathon last year, which by all accounts gave people the same PTSD as people who'd fought in the Somme. So, there's some serious mileage racked up there. And in that time, although I said, SRAM bottom brackets came out well on the Enduro test, I've killed a couple of those. Race face bottom bracket didn't last long at all. Whatever TRP you're using also didn't last long at all. And the main reason for those XD15 bottom brackets lasting so long is they use, I'm going to read my notes off here so I get it right, they use corrosion-proof, cyanogenically treated nitrogen steel races with silicon nitride grade 3 ceramic balls. It's a 15-degree angular contact seal bearing in a standard cartridge. So again, you're getting much larger balls, not as large as MaxHit. These are 3.97 in the bottom brackets, whereas again, still a lot bigger than the 2 to 3.175 mil bearings used in most bottom brackets. And the bearings are designed with a super deep groove in them as well. So again, you're getting large, that allows them to fit those larger bearings. I mean, these are obviously hub bearings, but you can get them, again, you get them in loads of different sizes. And to be honest, anywhere where there's a high rotating load, yes, they're expensive. I mean, 275 quid basically for a bottom bracket. But again, these are lifetime warranted and handmade in California in the Enduro Bearings facility. But also, because the way they combine the ceramic bearings with that steel race, that means these actually get faster and smoother as the bearing race polishes up. So they might not feel the smoothest. I mean, they feel incredibly smooth, but they might not feel the lowest drag when you start off. But the longer you use them, the smoother and therefore faster and more efficient these bearings will get. So again, that initial speed spin might not be totally impressive, but they are just going to last and last and last and get better and better as you go on using them. Which is, that's when the investment in them really, really starts to pay dividends. And I have to say, you've got to respect the whole Enduro Bearings approach as well. You can pop the seals out of the bearings and fill them up with grease over time. And they do recommend you service them annually. Like I said, there is that lifetime warranty, but obviously, give your kit every bit of help you can, especially when it's an expensive initial investment. But you get spare seals in the bearing kits, so you don't have to try and save the old ones when you've popped them out again. You can reinstall fresh bearings with your fresh grease. Just little things like the fact with the headsets you get a silver and a black top race cover, so you don't have to go, I've ordered a black one, I've ordered a silver one. You get both in the same box, which I think is a really nice idea. And you get like spare wave washers, things like that. And they do a really, really comprehensive, well, they're doing a really comprehensive range of bearings themselves. They also do all the sort of associated tools. So this is your bearing press, they do bearing pullers, they do bottom bracket tools for various bottom brackets. They even do this really nice socket converter for Shimano end caps. Again, different replacement bearings and different size. These are actually the ABEC ones. So that's the sort of basic quality of Enduro bearings. So you don't get the lifetime warranty with that, but you still get those excellent seals and very, very high quality steel ball bearings in them. So even if, you know, if you still want that really good sealing, something like a bike that doesn't do a massive amount of mileage, but it sees a fair amount of weather, then you don't really need XD15. And if it's not seeing a massive load of impacts, you know, it's not getting hammered like the poor old Squatch over here, then it makes sense. You know, you don't need to spend top dollar, but you can still get all those Enduro bearing advantages in terms of the sealing and in terms of the precision manufacturing in their more basic bearings as well. And they do a bunch of other tools as well. And I particularly like this. It's just a dummy pedal. So you just thread that in. I mean, there's no real need to have that. But again, it just gives you an example of what we're dealing with here. Super large bearings in a nice steel race. I mean, it's purely just a demonstration piece, but it's really nice. The idea is if you're working on your bike and you haven't got the pedals in, just slot that instead, because it's on a ball bearing, makes it really easy to spin round. And I love the fact that even the top caps that you get with the headsets are just a really nice example of just really neat high tolerance design. So it's just a little O-ring lip in there, and it's just so close tolerance that it just pops in there, sits in there, makes a neat cover on it, lets people know that you've got the best possible bearings, keeping your steering safe. And obviously that's a really good point to make that I hadn't thought of before I started this video is, or even when thinking about the advantages of Enduro bearings, is that if you are running one of these headset standards where the cables or controls or hoses, whatever, go through the inside of the headset bearings, and therefore make servicing those bearings, if you get an issue with them, a real pain in the ass, then it makes sense to use the best possible headset bearings you can from the outset. So that's why I've stuck these Enduro bearings in here. I mean, I stuck them in because I had them and it just made sense. So although it isn't their top race, I've still had to use that Across split race in the top there. The actual bearings are Enduro bearings, which is why, despite all the hammer this bike's had, they're still running super sweet. Whereas with a conventional bearing, I might have already had to do the whole re-bleed, re-hose the back brake just because I've had a bearing issue in the headset. So again, yet another reason why investing in Enduro bearings can be a real win and save you money and downtime on your bike in the long term. So there you go. That's my long overdue, but in sometimes also perfectly timed introduction to Enduro bearings and my experience with them over the past 18 months. Because as you can see from the bikes, I think no bike clean November is definitely behind us. We are heading into the dirty, dank, filthy parts of the year here in the UK and most of the northern and western hemisphere. And so there's no better time to invest in really high quality tools if you're working in the workshop, and really, really high quality bearings for your bike, because it's not just the bearings we're talking about, is it? Because if you get bearing wear and that propagates out into other areas of the bike, like if your suspension pivots go and they start wearing into the frame, your frame's written off. So it's that, you know, you really are, yes, they're expensive bearings, but in the grand scheme of things, they can save a huge amount of money in terms of prolonging the life of your frame, prolonging the life of your transmission components, things like bottom bracket axles. If you've got a chainset running in a bad bottom bracket and it's out of alignment, or the bearing is seizing so the axle's just spinning, that's your chainset gone. So you're looking at, like, you know, if you're running a carbon chainset, you could be looking at 500 quid chainset written off because you went, oh, I'll just get the 80 quid bottom bracket or the 50 quid bottom bracket, rather than, you know, the 180 quid MaxHit bottom bracket or something like that. And remember, this is a lifetime warranty we're talking about. As long as you don't do anything stupid to the seals, you don't, you know, hit them with a hammer, gouge them with something like that, then they will sort that out totally free. And even if you do get accidental damage on them,
you can buy all the spares as well through the website and just refresh them yourself. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm super proud to be kind of representing and be sponsored by Enduro Bearings. I think they're a thoroughly decent company, producing genuinely exceptional products from my experience. And if that sounds cheesy, coming from someone who will be sponsored as soon as I get that invoice in, then so be it. But hopefully, if you've been watching this channel for long enough or following my career in the magazines, the websites, you'll know I'll only say what I think is the honest truth about stuff. Not saying I don't make mistakes occasionally, but pretty sure in this case, these are some damn fine bearings to put in your bike. And actually, what's interesting is you might already find, if you're running like a Kotick or a Mondrake or several other brands actually, you will already have Enduro Max, which is the original Enduro bearings, which is just your Max complement bearing. So again, massive balls for the, yeah, it's a bit of a Danny Hart. It genuinely is a bit of a Danny Hart situation with this. How do they last so long with balls that big? So yeah, that's me. Talking about Enduro bearings, and hopefully it's introduced you to a way to really invest in increasing the performance and reducing the maintenance time on your pride and joy, whether you're maximum mileage or maximum abuse. Either way, Enduro bearings have got you covered. Plus, all those excellent upgrade and premium quality tool options as well, which are just a genuine joy to use. So I'll be doing a video as soon as I do my next bearing change. But for now, I've been Guy Kesterman on Guycase TV, talking about the excellent bearings, tools, and other accessories from Enduro Bearings. Thanks for the support for those folks, and to you guys. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.